Hello everyone, my name is Julia and today I will be guiding you through an at-home Vinyasa yoga flow for contentment. So let's go ahead and get started in any comfortable seated position, or if you'd rather start lying down or in any other position that is more accessible to you, that is totally fine. And then once you get there, take a moment to settle in and to arrive, sort of land on your mat, allowing the eyes to come closed. Starting to tune our awareness inward. If we're seated, we're rooting down into the sit bones, into the earth, tall through the spine and growing through the crown of the head. Allowing the shoulders to fall back and down, away from the ears. Allowing the heart to be open. Allowing the breath to flow freely. Beginning to notice the quality of that breath. Taking it all in with every inhale and letting it all go on every exhale. Perhaps noticing different thoughts that come up into the mind as we sit here in stillness. And just noticing and acknowledging these thoughts without becoming attached to them. A lot of times when the body is still, the mind likes to sort of wander into the past and the future. And when we forget to stay rooted in the present moment, that's when discontentment can begin to sort of creep up on us. And so we can begin to stay rooted to this present moment by really cultivating a mindful breath. Focusing every inhale and lengthening every inhale, sending it deep down into the belly, expanding into the rib cage and chest and throat, slowly exhaling to release it. Inviting a bit of peace and calm into the body with every inhale, and releasing judgment and expectations with every exhale. To be content is to realize that there is no good or bad, that everything is just neutral, and that we sort of attach our preferences to things. And in yoga we let go of those attachments, and through this practice we begin to sort of set ourselves free. Continue to breathe. When you're ready, begin to invite some movement back into the body. You can blink the eyes open if you would like to, or else maybe you keep them closed and just sort of listen to the sound of this video. Beginning to wiggle the fingers and continue to breathe in this mindful way. And maybe seeing if we can focus on that breath throughout our entire practice today. On an inhale, begin to circle the arms around and up to the sky, meeting the palms together at the very top, and then exhaling to bring the hands back through heart center. Anjali Mudra, it's a symbol of gratitude, bowing the chin here. And so to find contentment, we must use gratitude as our greatest tool. So consider what you have and find a place of love for those things. Taking a moment to just set an intention for our practice today, or to just continue to play this sort of game of pointing out everything in your life that you're grateful for. Maybe you start with a couple, maybe it's an exhaustive list. But just starting with gratitude. Starting every action with gratitude. Allowing the hands to come back down to our sides. And then let's go ahead and just make our way to a position of all fours, hands and knees. You might roll onto the knees, or you might get there in some other way that makes sense to you. And begin to move through some cat-cows, inhaling as we lift the crown of the head and lift the tailbone. Exhaling as we round the spine, tuck the chin and tuck the tailbone underneath, lifting the mid-back. Feel free to add any other organic or natural movements into your cat-cows that just feel right to you. Feeling for places of tension in the body and sending your breath there, really connecting these movements with our breath, staying present in this moment. And if you notice places of tension in the body, don't judge yourself for them, but rather approach every pose, every sensation with a sense of curiosity. We can begin to practice just looking at things and considering, or just looking at things and thinking, that's interesting, and then just moving on. We don't have to always attach meanings or assign judgments. Things can just be. Finding a still point in your cat-cows, allowing the hips to sink back to the heels, bringing the big toes together but separating the knees as wide or as close together as you would like them to be today. And allowing the chest to melt between that space down towards the earth, and maybe you allow the forehead to rest down as well. Feeling that third eye space, the center of the eyebrows connecting down to the earth, that center of intuition, that inner wisdom that reminds us that everything we need in this moment, we already have within us. And I'd also like to remind you here that you can always return to child's pose during this practice if it becomes too intense, or if you would like to just sort of take a step back and come back to your intention, or reestablish your breath. This can be your sort of home base. Inhale as we come back through center to a position of all fours. Bring the knees together and then just sit back on the heels with the chest lifted for hero's pose. And in hero's pose, maybe we begin to tuck the toes under and find a bit of a toe squat pose here. Stretching into the balls of the feet and into the toes and into the arches. And go ahead and begin to just kind of walk the hands up the body. Maybe more in the back until you begin to feel a sort of stretch in the wrists, maybe in the shoulders. And maybe you turn the hands so that we're just sort of pressing the back of the hands against the rib cage. Just creating a gentle stretch here. Feeling it in the wrists, noticing any tension. Many of us have been on our computers a lot lately, doing a lot of online work, and so our wrists might need some extra attention today. Being mindful of that. When you're ready, inhale, lift the arms around and up to the sky. And on an exhale, let the arms float out in front of you with the palms facing the sky as if you're reaching out to sort of receive something, a sort of gift. And then maybe you just cross the right arm over the left arm. And then maybe from here you grab opposite shoulders, kind of embracing yourself, giving yourself a hug, showing some gratitude for this body that you're in exactly the way it is. Yeah. Inhaling here. And on an exhale, let's just bow forward. Maybe you untuck your toes and just sink the hips back. Maybe that third eye space taps the ground. Maybe it doesn't quite reach. And on an inhale, let's rise to stand all the way up onto the knees. Exhale as we bow forward, surrendering. A big part of contentment is learning to surrender to the reality of things. Inhale to rise, and to accept the truth as our starting point. Exhale to fold forward. One more of these. Inhale to rise. Exhale to surrender. Go ahead and just come back to hero's pose, releasing the arms and then inhaling to circle them around and up to the sky. Exhale to hover them forward out in front of you. Perhaps like you're giving something away. It's a sort of exchange, letting go of what you no longer need. Crossing the left elbow over the right elbow, maybe we grab opposite shoulders again. Inhaling here to lift up through the chest. Exhaling to surrender, to bow forward. Inhaling, let's rise all the way up onto the knees. Exhaling to surrender, to bow forward. Inhale to rise. Exhale to bow. One more of these, inhaling as we rise. Exhaling as we surrender. Sometimes to surrender can be looked at as an act of weakness, but in yoga, to surrender, we recognize can take a lot of strength to finally gain the courage to cut your losses and to let go. It can sound simpler than it actually is. When you're ready, let's come back to hands and knees, a position of all fours. From there, tucking the toes and lifting the hips for downward facing dog, getting out any creaks and cracks perhaps. Maybe we come up onto the toes and stretch into the ankles. Maybe we bend the knees and sink the hips back. Feeling for sensation in the legs as they awaken. Really lifting through the tailbone and allowing the chest to melt towards the thighs as we pedal out the feet and maybe sync this movement with our breath. Clawing through the hands as we press especially through the pointer fingers and thumbs, keeping that weight directed towards a sort of imaginary midline. And then when you're ready, we'll begin to make our way to forward fold. Get there just in any way that makes sense to you. And then when you arrive, lift halfway for a flattish back, shoulder blades pinch together, tailbone is lifted. And on an exhale, fold forward, sink in a little deeper to your fold. And then maybe just releasing the weight of the head and neck, moving the head and neck side to side, or yes and no. Pressing down through the feet, feeling the legs activate as we lift through the tailbone, slightly bend the knees. Inhale to circle the arms around and up to the sky. For mountain pose, reaching up. On an exhale, bringing the hands down through heart center. For Samasthiti, equal standing pose. allowing the hands to fall back down to our sides, reaching down to the earth through the fingertips, lifting up through the crown of the head and pressing down through the feet, seeing how much activation and how much work there can actually be in mountain pose. In a position that we're so familiar with, standing. It is something that looks so simple, but really there is so much that happens, and yoga is about noticing those details, and contentment is about noticing those details and feeling curious and sort of excited about them. Inhale to circle the arms around and up. Exhale, forward fold. So contentment is all about celebrating the little things. Inhale to lift halfway. Exhale to plant the hands. Step walker, jump the feet back to plank pose. Some of you will decide to lower the knees down and stay kneeling, and that is perfectly fine. Some of you will come into a full plank where the knees are lifted, and that's perfectly fine too. On an exhale, decide how far will you lower down in chaturanga. Will you stop halfway? Or maybe that's just too much. That's not available, so you lower all the way down. No big deal, you guys. On an inhale, either lifting just the chest for cobra, or lifting all the way up onto the hands and tops of the feet for upward facing dog. Either way, we're shining the heart forward. On an exhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips for downward facing dog, or perhaps instead you decide to take child's pose like we did before. Know that downward dog and child's pose are interchangeable. They are both resting poses that you can always come back to. And in this resting pose, just taking a few breaths to be purely in this present moment. If the mind does wander, we're not going to judge it, right? Part of finding contentment is the paradox of being content with your discontentment, because to seek out contentment means that you're coming from a place of lack, when instead we already have everything we need within us. When you're ready, begin to make your way to forward fold. Halfway lift when you arrive. Exhale to fold back in. Inhale, root to rise, sweep the arms up. Exhale, hands come through heart center and down to our sides. Inhale, lifts the arms back around and up. Exhale, forward fold, let it all go. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, plant the hands, step walker, jump the feet back to your version of plank pose. Bend the elbows, lower down chaturanga. Tops of the feet press down. Inhale, shines the heart, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, presses back, downward facing dog or child's pose. 5 breaths here, you guys. Seeing if we can practice contentment in every pose, the ones that we like and the ones that we don't like. To find contentment in the things that we like is rather easy, but to find it in things we dislike is maybe something we sort of should shift our focus on a little more. Something we maybe ought to surrender to. At the end of your 5 breaths, forward fold, halfway lift on an inhale. Exhale, sinks back in. Inhale, root to rise, sweep the arms up. Exhale, hands through heart center and down to our sides. Inhale, lifts back around and up. Exhale, forward fold, wash it away. Inhale, lifts halfway. Exhale, plants the hands, steps, walks or jumps the feet back, and moves through your vinyasa, bending the elbows, lowering down. Inhale to lift for upward facing dog. Exhale to press back for downward facing dog. 5 breaths here. Where does the mind go? breathing fully and completely. When you're ready, bend the knees, look between the hands. Make your way to forward fold. Inhale to lift halfway. Exhale to sink back in. This time bending the knees, sinking the hips low, feeling the fingertips kind of graze against the mat and allowing the belly to be against the thighs. Feeling your belly expand against the thighs on your inhale. And then when you're ready, inhaling to sweep the arms up. Maybe the palms connect, maybe they don't, for chair pose. Breathing here. Again, finding that place of contentment, the place of just enough. In chair pose. See, where does the mind go when things get a little more tough? Do we try to resist? Can we just be in the moment, be with that discomfort? When you're ready, straightening the knees on an inhale, reaching up to the sky. Exhale, circling the arms back down to our sides. Maybe rolling out the shoulders here. Back and forth in circles. And on an inhale, lifting the arms back around and up. Exhale, forward fold, let it all go. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, step walker, jump the feet back. Plank pose, lower down. Move through that vinyasa. Know that if the vinyasas become too much, all you have to do is go back to your resting pose. You can just skip it. No big deal. When you're ready, inhale to lift the right leg for three-legged dog. If it feels good to bend this right knee and stack the hips and twist open, you can. But make sure to keep equal weight in the hands so that we're only twisting through the waist and through this hip flexor. Inhale as we straighten that right leg, squaring off the hips. And exhale as we step the right foot all the way between the hands. If you need to take extra steps in between to get there, no big deal. When you're ready, rising up to crescent warrior. And on an exhale, lowering the forearms to reach out in front of you with the palms facing up. Again, like we're sort of receiving something. When you're ready, crossing that right elbow over the left elbow. Maybe you give yourself that hug, hugging the shoulders, and maybe this time you take eagle arms to create more sensation in the shoulders. And to do this, we just continue to wrap the arms around one another until the palms connect. And then lifting the elbows to about chin level to feel that sensation in the shoulders. Go ahead and inhale here, maybe take a slight back bend if that feels good in your body today. And exhale as we sort of bow forward. Maybe the elbows connect to this right knee. And we'll do this 2 more times. Inhaling as we lift. Strong stance here. Exhale as we bow forward. Inhale to lift. Exhale to bow forward. Inhale to lift. Untangle your arms and reach around and up to the sky. Exhale to surround the right foot with the hands, low lunge. Step the right foot back to meet the left. An option to flow through that vinyasa, or of course you can skip it. When you return to downward dog, left leg lifts on an inhale. Exhale, bends the knee, stacks the hips to twist open. Equal weight in the hands, the shoulders stay squared to the front of the mat. We're just opening through that hip flexor. Inhale, straightens the left knee, squares off the hips, reaches back through that left heel. And on an exhale, floating that left foot between the hands. Adjust your stance. And on an inhale, rise up to crescent warrior. Staying on the ball of that right foot, pressing down through the left foot. Exhale as we bring the arms out in front of us, palms facing the sky. This time left elbow crosses above the right, either going for that shoulder grab or perhaps eagle arms as we continue to wrap the arms and connect the palms. Lift the elbows to about chin level. Inhale, maybe a slight back bend. Exhale as we hover above this left thigh, maybe the elbow and the knee connect. Inhale to rise. Exhale to bow. Inhale to rise. Exhale to bow. Inhale to rise. Untangle the arms and reach up to the sky. Exhale to surround this left foot with the hands. Low lunge, stepping the left foot back to meet the right. Lower down and move through that vinyasa or skip it. Exhale sends us back to our resting pose. When you're ready, we'll make our way to forward fold at the top of the mat. Halfway lift when we arrive. Exhale to sink back in. Inhale, root to rise, sweep the arms around and up for mountain pose. And exhale to sink the hips back for chair pose. We've been here before. Feeling that fire within us, that heat. Sort of just welcoming and inviting that heat in, knowing that it brings transformation. Breathing here, see if we can use chair as a sort of resting pose. Is it possible? And when you're ready, inhale to circle the arms back up to the sky, straightening the legs. Exhale, forward fold. Let it all go. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands. Step walker, jump the feet back. Either move through that vinyasa or skip it and take your resting pose. On an inhale, right leg lifts, three-legged dog. Exhale to bend the knees, stack the hips, twist open if it feels good. Inhale to straighten the right leg, square off the hips. Exhale, sends the foot between the hands. Inhale, rises, crescent warrior. Exhale, floats the arms out in front of you to receive. Right arm crosses over the left arm. We take either this shoulder hug or eagle arms. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to bow. Inhale to rise, squeezing the core, belly button hugs the spine. Exhale to surrender. Inhale, rises. Exhale, bows forward. Inhale to rise. Untangle your arms and reach them up to the sky. And on an exhale, we'll open up the hips to warrior two. So bending through that right leg, pressing down through the outer edge of that left foot. The hips are squared side by side to one another. Shoulders relaxed, fingertips reaching out in either direction, and the gaze is over the right fingertips. On an inhale, reaching forward, flip the palm. Exhale, reverse warrior. Reaching straight up through those right fingertips. Perhaps we wrap the left arm around the low back to create a little more of a twist. Strong stance, the stance doesn't change. On an inhale, come back to warrior two. And on an exhale, surrounding the right foot with the hands. Low lunge. On an inhale, lifting the right hand up to the sky, dragonfly twist. And on an exhale, planting the right hand back down to the mat. Stepping the right foot back to meet the left. Moving through that vinyasa. Inhale. Let's lift the left leg. Inhale, lifting the left leg. Exhale, bends the knees, stacks the hips to twist over. Inhale, straightens the knees, squares off the hips. Exhale, steps the left foot between the hands. Inhale, rises. Crescent warrior. Exhale, lowers the hands out in front of us. Crosses the left elbow over the right elbow to grab either opposite shoulders or go for eagle arms. Inhale as we lift the elbows to chin level and take a slight back bend. Exhale as we bow forward, maybe tapping the elbows to the knee. Inhale, rise. Exhale, flow. Inhale, rise. Exhale, bow. Inhale, rise, untangle the arms and reach up towards the sky. Exhale, warrior two. Opening up the hips, pressing down through the left foot, pressing down through the outer edge of this right foot. Hands reaching out to either direction. Inhale to reach the left fingertips forward, flip the palm, exhale. Reverse warrior, reaching straight up through the left fingertips. Right hand either stays by our side or wraps around the low back. Breathing into this left side body. And on an exhale, cartwheeling the arms to surround this front foot. And on an inhale, lifting the left hand for dragonfly twist. Stacking the shoulders above one another. On an exhale, planting the left hand, stepping the left foot back to meet the right, and Vinyasa. When you're ready, we'll find forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to sink back in. Inhale, root to rise, sweep the arms up. Exhale, sits back, chair pose, Utkatasana. Weight is in our heels as if we could lift all 10 toes. Maybe the hands connect, maybe the hands come through heart center. Maybe the shoulders are tired. Breathing here, wherever you are. Knowing that you're exactly where you're supposed to be in this moment, and that this moment could not be different. The moment is complete. When you're ready, inhale to circle the arms up, straighten the legs. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step walker, jump the feet back. Option to go through that vinyasa. When you're ready, inhale, lifts the right leg. Exhale, bends the knee, stacks the hips to twist open. Inhale, straightens, squares off the hips. Exhale, steps the foot between the hands. Inhale, crescent warrior. Exhale, let the hands hover in front of you. Crossing the right elbow over the left for either eagle arms or that shoulder hug. Inhale as we lift through the chest. Exhale as we bow. Inhale, rises. Exhale, bows. Inhale, rises. Exhale, bows. Inhale, rises. And exhale, releases the grip. Reaches the arms up on an inhale. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reach the right fingertips forward. Flip the palm, exhale, reverse warrior. Inhale through that right side body. Exhale, bring the arms back through center. Warrior two. Turning the right toes inward slightly, come to a straddle. And then bringing the arms behind us, either for prayer hands behind the back, maybe opposite elbows or opposite wrists. Deciding where you would like to go with this bind. Inhale when you find it. Exhale to hinge at the hips. Lead with the heart. Forward fold. Using this as a sort of resting pose. And breathing into the space that we're in. finding contentment and finding gratitude. Thanking these legs for holding us, these shoulders, these arms, these hands. Thanking this mat and this floor. Finding gratitude for all the little things. When you're ready, bringing the hands to the hips. Inhale to rise up. Turning the right toes towards the front of the mat. Go ahead and surround that right foot with the hands, low lunge. Step the right foot back to meet the left. Option to move through that vinyasa or option to skip it. On an inhale, left leg lifts, three-legged dog. Exhale, bends the knee, stacks the hips to twist open. Inhale, straightens the knee, squares off the hips. Exhale, steps the left foot between the hands. Inhale, rises, crescent warrior. Exhale, reaches the hands out in front of us. Crosses the left elbow over the right elbow. Going for your version of eagle arms. Inhaling to lift the chest, lift the elbows. Exhaling to surrender, to bow forward. Inhale to lift. Exhale to bow. Inhale to lift. Exhale to bow. Inhale to lift and untangle the arms, reaching up to the sky. Exhale, warrior two. Strong bend in this left knee. Looking over those left fingertips, reaching forward, flip the palm. Exhale, reverse warrior. Option to wrap the right arm around the lower back, reaching up to the left fingertips. On an exhale, bring the arms back through T, through center, warrior two. Turning the left toes inward to come to this standing straddle. Move you heel toe the feet inward slightly so that the toes point outwards. And then we sink the hips down to find goddess pose. Maybe the hips come down to about knee level, maybe not quite. Maybe you bring the hands to heart center. Anjali Mudra, finding gratitude for the fire that we feel in our legs. Embracing the shake and breathing into that sensation. Can you find contentment when things become uncomfortable? Can you sort of shift that perspective, realizing that contentment is something that happens from within. It's not something that is caused by external factors. If we are always basing our happiness or contentment on external things that we have no control over, then we're teaching ourselves helplessness. And so you guys, take back your power. Feel your strength. Reclaim your emotional well-being. When you're ready, straighten the legs. Release the hands down. Inhale, circle the arms up. Exhale, surrounding the left foot with the hands. Low lunge, step the left foot back to meet the right. Option to go through that vinyasa or option to skip it. Coming back to our resting pose. When you're ready, bend the knees, look between the hands. Make your way to forward fold. Inhale to lift halfway when you arrive. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise, sweep the arms up, mountain pose, Tadasana. Exhale, Utkatasana, chair pose. You guys, in chair pose this time, let's begin to lift the right foot, crossing this right leg over the left leg, as if we're in a sort of ladylike style. Maybe these right toes stay grounded for support, or maybe you move closer to a wall or a piece of furniture to sort of hold on to for balance. Otherwise, finding stillness, finding a focal point. And then maybe we add on some eagle arms to these eagle legs. And so since our right leg is crossed over our left leg, we'll cross the right arm under the left arm. So maybe we start by lowering the hands and then crossing the right arm under the left arm. And then either going for that shoulder grab or going for the full eagle arms, whatever feels better for you in this particular moment. Squeezing the thighs together. Breathing here. That sort of gripping feeling. It's that feeling when our behaviors try to seek out something, to grab hold. And then noticing what happens when you release that gripping. Feeling a bit lighter. That's what happens when we let go of the expectations of others. When we stop basing our idea of contentment on someone else's idea of success. When you're ready, inhale to lift the arms up. Exhale to sit the hips back, chair pose. This time lifting the left foot, crossing the left leg over the left leg. Gaining your balance here, finding your stability however you need to. And then once you find that stability, allowing the arms to hover in front of you. Crossing the right arm over the left arm for eagle arms. Finding your variation. And lifting the elbows to chin level, lifting through the chest, sinking through the hips. Squeezing everything to that center midline. And if you fall out of it, maybe you can laugh about it, be humble about it, and just try again. No big deal. When you're ready, begin to unravel. Release the gripping. Feel that tension dissolve. That release. Inhale, circles the arms up. Exhale, forward fold, wash it away. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands. Maybe you take one last vinyasa for this class. Maybe you've had enough. When you're ready, lowering the knees down to the mat. Let's take child's pose. Big toes come together. Maybe the arms reach out in front of us, or maybe we decide to keep our arms by our sides since we did a lot of shoulder work today. Finding a little bit of stillness, finding a bit of contentment. Breathing. And when you're ready, begin to lift up. Walking the hands back out in front of us to hands and knees. And then we'll just lower onto the belly. Arms come next to our sides. Maybe we rest the chin down. And on an inhale, lifting the head, lifting the shoulders, lifting the chest, lifting the legs for locust pose. Lifting anything that can lift here. Feeling the muscles in the back engage. Squeezing the glutes to protect the low back. And on an exhale, lowering everything back down. We'll do this again, and perhaps you take it more as a Superman by reaching the arms long in front of you. Inhale to lift everything. Exhale to release. Maybe this time we go for bow pose, or perhaps we just stick with what we were doing before. But if you'd like to go for bow, we bend the knees and grab either the ankles or the tops of the feet. And then same thing, lift everything on an inhale. Making sure that we keep the knees at about hips width apart and we're not separating the knees at all. Breathing here, keeping the neck nice and long by keeping our gaze maybe at the mat so that there's no creases in the back of the neck. And on an exhale, releasing without snapping, gently. Rolling the chest back down and then planting the hands underneath the shoulders to rise up. Coming through hero's pose. Sinking one hip down to the mat. And bringing the legs long in front of us for staff pose, Dandasana. Perhaps we plant the hands by our sides. If our hands don't reach, don't worry about it. Just allow the chin to fall to the chest, the shoulders to fall back and down. Feeling a stretch along the back of the neck. Legs active by flexing the feet and reaching the toes up towards the sky. Maybe so much so that the heels begin to lift. Breathing here. And when you're ready, begin to lower onto your back. Keeping the feet planted, go ahead and just cross the right ankle above the left knee for a figure 4 position. And then maybe you begin to draw this left knee in towards the chest. Maybe you rock a little side to side. Feeling that right hip flexor gently begin to open. Some people might enjoy straightening this left leg. Some people might enjoy just cradling this right shin, allowing the left leg to stay flat against the mat for sort of an upside down pigeon pose. Finding your variation of this hip opener. And breathing into it. Finding that feeling of contentment. Letting it just be without making it good or bad. It's just neutral, it just is. Begin to switch sides when you're ready. Taking whatever version, maybe you start with this figure 4 with the left ankle above the right knee and then drawing the right knee in towards the chest from here. Keeping this left foot flexed. Maybe you stay here, maybe you straighten the right leg, play with the ankle and some other movements. You know, just really make it your own variation. Some of you might like a upside down pigeon pose where we cradle this left shin as if it were a baby and this right leg just comes long against the mat. Breathing into this pose. Allowing yourself to enjoy the stillness, to enjoy this moment for exactly what it is, for the truth of what it is. When you're ready, allowing this left leg to come along against the mat. Bringing the right knee into the chest. Let's just cross this right knee over to the left side. Bringing the right arm along into a spinal twist. The gaze shifts over to the right fingertips, even if the eyes are closed, so that we can twist throughout the entire spine. Inhale back through center. Right leg comes along. Left knee draws in towards the body. By crossing the left knee over to the right side, left arm comes along, gaze looks over at the left fingertips. Inhale back through center. Let the left leg come along against the mat. Take any last poses you need to make your practice feel complete, or maybe your practice already feels complete. We just take rest. Allowing the body to be completely still, releasing any remaining thoughts or tension or distractions. And so contentment is all about finding gratitude for what we have. It's about looking within and not basing our happiness on outside factors, on the things beyond our control. It's about not looking at what other people have, wishing that we could have that, but rather realizing that we already have everything we need, and by looking outside of ourselves, we forget to enjoy what we already have. Contentment is about letting go of the illusion that things could have been different and accepting the truth of the present moment as your starting point. Begin to awaken the body, rolling the fingers and toes, deepening the breath. When you're ready, drawing the knees in towards the body, hugging them in, feeling where the lower back connects down to the earth and pressing down into that space. Begin to bring yourself up into a seated position in any way that makes sense to you. And when you arrive, rooting down through the sit bones, sitting up nice and tall through the spine, the shoulders falling back and down away from the ears, the crown of the head lifts. On an inhale, circle the arms around and up to the sky. Exhale to seal it all in. Anjali Mudra, finding that gratitude. The light in me sees the same light that shines in each of you, and where those lights meet is where we find connection, and that connection is the meaning of the word yoga. Thank you all for sharing this practice with me today. Namaste.